It is day 2 of the Sean Diddy Combs federal trial. Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, she is one of Combs' many accusers, testifying as a central witness.
Is she ready?
Very ready and confident. Thank you.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend.
He was once hailed as a music mogul, a kingmaker, the epitome of hip-hop success. But that image shattered yesterday when Cassie Ventura took the stand. Her testimony was so graphic and emotional, even veteran courtroom reporters were stunned. As she recounted shocking allegations from their past, Diddy sat frozen, his pale expression revealing the weight of her words. The man who once ruled an empire now struggled to stay composed as Cassie exposed what allegedly happened behind closed doors.
When she walked in there, Rachel, she had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact with the defendant, with Sean Combs. She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on to the lighting in the room to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with. And again, just to reiterate what is a freak off, the freak off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21. She was young. She didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend. Combs has pleaded not guilty. His attorneys argue the video is evidence of jealousy, not sex trafficking. And now for the first time, jurors are hearing what Cassie has to say about that and other aspects of their 10-year relationship.
For decades, Sean Diddy Combs ruled the music industry like he owned it, because in many ways he did. He built Bad Boy Records from the ground up, turned unknown artists into global superstars, and expanded his empire into fashion, vodka, and media. On the surface, Diddy was the blueprint for turning hip-hop into serious business. He was praised as a visionary, a mentor, and a mogul. But now that carefully curated image is under fire, as new allegations surface in court, including explosive claims from Cassie Ventura. A much darker picture is emerging. While the world celebrated Diddy's success, Cassie was allegedly experiencing a private nightmare. The contrast between his public persona and what's being alleged in court is disturbing, raising serious questions about the truth behind the glitz, the glamour, and everyone in the courtroom yesterday witnessed a stark contrast. Here was a man known for his polished image, custom suits, perfect grooming, and media-savvy interviews projecting the persona of the ultimate professional. But the allegations against him painted a drastically different picture behind closed doors, someone unrecognizable to fans who only knew his public face. Court reporters noted that Diddy arrived on day 2 looking every bit the billionaire mogul, flanked by a team of elite attorneys, nodding confidently, even flashing the occasional smile. He looked like he was walking into a boardroom, not courtroom. But that confident facade began to crack quickly. Within the first 30 minutes of Cassie's emotional testimony, witnesses described a dramatic shift. The swagger vanished. His calm, collected demeanor gave way to visible discomfort. The man, once untouchable in the public eye, suddenly seemed deeply unsettled by what was unfolding. As Cassie began detailing specific incidents from their relationship, Diddy's composed public image started to crack. His usually unreadable face showed signs of strain, and his legal team repeatedly objected, almost desperately trying to interrupt her testimony. Imagine that, a man who built a billion-dollar empire, who controlled the careers of major artists and closed massive business deals, now unable to control his own reactions in a courtroom. Witnesses described how Diddy became visibly unsettled. He couldn't sit still, fidgeting with his tie, then his cufflinks, then just his hands. The power dynamic had completely shifted. All eyes in the courtroom were on him as Cassie calmly spoke. His face reportedly lost all color, as if the gravity of the moment had hit him all at once. At one point, he began frantically scribbling notes and passing them to his attorneys so rapidly that one lawyer had to raise a hand to slow him down. One court reporter said it felt like watching a man realize for the first time that he no longer controlled the narrative. Another observer noted that Diddy appeared physically ill as Cassie described their relationship in chilling detail. The third witness recalled seeing Diddy close his eyes multiple times as if he couldn't bear to look at Cassie or hear her words. And this was only the beginning. As her testimony continued into the afternoon, the courtroom would soon learn exactly why Diddy couldn't keep his composure. The specific allegation Cassie was about to reveal sent shockwaves through the music industry, one that could unravel the carefully crafted legacy Diddy spent decades building. The man who always controlled the narrative was now facing a version of the story he couldn't edit, spin, or silence.
Some point in time, she actually had said that she looked forward to the freak-offs. Why did Cassie express looking forward to these said freak-offs?
When the prosecution asked her, was there ever a time that you enjoyed the freak-offs? This is when Cassie got choked up and she said, I did, but only because I got to spend one-on-one time with Combs and I really did love him.
And that is speaking to the psychological abuse in addition to the physical abuse that she potentially experienced.
Yeah. She's definitely laying out someone who was young, who was influenced by wanting to have this record career. She signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment, led by Sean Combs, and basically describes being enamored by Sean Combs, loving him, not knowing about certain things sexually, and him sort of telling her, teaching her about that. And what you hear is someone that was young and she even said, you know, I was young, I was naive, I didn't know any better. But she's really telling the story of someone who thought she was going to be with someone in this music industry that was going to help her career, that cared about her, but quickly learned after the freak-offs, that wasn't the case. And what I thought was also interesting is she said that after that first freak-off, she said she felt dirty. She didn't want to do it. And when she brought up the idea of having a conversation about the freak-offs in an email, which the jurors saw, she said she backpedaled in the email because Combs responded by saying, I know, you don't want to do it. And she said, oh, no, well, it's not that. But that was the beginning. That was in 2010, where she brings up in an email that she wanted to have a conversation about this. And in her words, she didn't want to do it, but she felt like she had to do it.
Diane, prosecutors have wasted no time getting right into the alleged abuse that Cassie Ventura says she endured for years. Ventura telling jurors, quote, he would bash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head when I was down. She also got into the nature of those so-called freak-offs, saying that they involved hiring an escort and they performed under the direction of Combs, saying that they happened so frequently it eventually became a job for her to set them up. Ventura said she did not feel she had much of a choice but to participate, that she feared that Combs would retaliate or potentially blackmail her if she did not. And she's had at times to she's taken deep breaths, pausing her testimony, Combs appearing to be listening pretty passively with his hands in his lap at the defense table.
When Cassie Ventura took the stand, the room fell into complete silence. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone knew this moment was coming, but no one, not even Diddy's legal team, seemed fully prepared for what she was about to say. After years of silence, years of carrying her story alone, Cassie finally had the chance to speak her truth, and she did calmly, powerfully. She started from the beginning, describing how she met Diddy at just 19 years old. He was already a multimillionaire and a dominant force in the music world. She was a young model with dreams of a music career. The power imbalance was clear from day one, and according to Cassie, Diddy wasted no time using that power. Her story unfolded like a slow-burning thriller. At first, it was the little things. How he allegedly tried to control who she talked to, what she wore, and where she went. The deeper she went, the more disturbing the picture became. Cassie testified that Diddy insisted on knowing her whereabouts at all times. If she went out with friends, he would often show up unannounced. Then came the control over her career. She claimed he threatened to shelve her music if she didn't meet his demands and allegedly sabotaged collaborations with other artists if he felt threatened. The most shocking allegation, according to court transcripts, was that Diddy had tracking software secretly installed on her phone. She said he would sometimes call her within minutes of her arriving somewhere, already knowing her exact location. Cassie also described how he slowly isolated her, cutting her off from friends who might encourage her to leave. One by one, her support system vanished until, as she put it, Diddy was all she had. The testimony was so intense that the judge had to call for order 3 separate times during the session as the courtroom reacted audibly. During Cassie's testimony, Diddy struggled to control himself, shaking his head and whispering loudly to his lawyers, his emotions visible to the jury. Each time, the judge warned him. He regained composure briefly before reacting again. Then, Cassie handed her phone to her attorney, and the courtroom saw a series of shocking text messages and emails projected on the screen. Diddy's face showed pure shock as these messages revealed apologies for violent outbursts and threats to ruin her career if she spoke out, directly contradicting his public statements. But the revelation didn't end there. Cassie then detailed physical assaults, describing how Diddy allegedly threw her against walls and pushed her down a flight of stairs. The courtroom was silent, gripped by the gravity of her words. Cassie testified that Diddy once pushed her down a flight of stairs at a rental house in Miami. But the most disturbing allegations were yet to come. She described multiple incidents where he allegedly choked her until she nearly lost consciousness, only stopping when she went limp. Several jurors visibly reacted. One older woman wiped away tears, while a male juror avoided eye contact with Diddy during the more graphic parts. Even the most experienced courtroom reporters admitted they weren't prepared for the level of detail in her account. And all of this, Cassie said, was only leading up to the hotel incident that would change everything.
Cassie's relationship with Diddy. Some of those details we've seen in prior lawsuits, but to hear her on the stand actually giving those details, reliving those moments herself. Also, you have to remember, she's very pregnant right now. So I'm going to be curious to see how long she makes it on the stand, how she's emotionally able to weather all of these questions. And what's going to be interesting to watch is, the defense from the very start in their opening statement said that she chose to be there. So I'm going to be curious to see how she responds to questions about, was this her choice or did she feel like she had to do all of these things?
I think what made Cassie emotional is having to describe the details of the freak off and why she did it. When she talked about wanting to do it to please Sean Combs, that's when she broke down. Up until that point, she had just been answering the questions. She's a little soft-spoken at times, but that's when she got emotional. When she had to answer the question about if she enjoyed it, that's when she broke down, because she said, I enjoyed being with Sean Combs. And she says, I did it because it made him happy.
What did the expressions of the jurors look like?
The jurors are laser focused on what Cassie has to say. And that's to be expected, right? Because she is the person who will likely be on the stand, according to attorneys, for 2, maybe 3 days. She's the one that was in the relationship with Sean Combs for over 10 years. So she's got a lot to say, and she's just getting started.
Just how important is Cassie's testimony to the prosecution?
I think it really connects the dots, Rachel. When you look at that initial indictment and what's being alleged, she really is the person that has probably the most information about this idea that the prosecution says, which is creating a criminal enterprise for Sean Combs' sexual desires. Something else that the jurors saw today that sort of connects it back to this alleged criminal enterprise are 7 photos of people that were very close to Sean Combs, one even his former chief of staff. And these were all people that Cassie Ventura was able to name and explain the functions in terms of what they did: security, driver, chief of staff, someone that handled financials. So it's showing that she knew some of these people, again, because she was with him, around him for so long.
I thought I was going to die that night. Cassie whispered, her voice barely audible as the courtroom listened intently, hanging on every word. For the first time, she opened up about a traumatic incident at the Four Seasons Hotel, an event that had remained buried for years. Cassie explained how she kept the details secret out of fear for her career, fear for her safety, and fear that no one would believe her over someone as powerful as Diddy. But now, sitting on the witness stand, she wasn't holding back. Cassie testified that the night began like any other industry afterparty, but it soon turned into a nightmare. She described how Diddy became enraged when he saw her speaking to another music executive. His once friendly smile disappeared, and his grip on her arm was so tight it left bruises. As he whispered threats in her ear, she could feel the intensity of his anger, all while maintaining a composed and friendly demeanor in front of the others at the event. The most chilling part of her testimony was when she said Diddy literally dragged her through the hotel lobby to the elevators as she cried, desperate to break free from his grip. Cassie described how, during the chaotic scene, hotel security approached, but when the guard recognized Diddy, he backed off. He simply asked if everything was okay, and when Diddy assured him it was, the guard walked away, not even asking if Cassie was all right. He then even asked if I was okay, she testified, her voice tinged with disbelief and frustration. Then her lawyer presented a series of photos that Cassie had taken the morning after the incident. The images showed the bruises on her arms, a split lip, and redness around her neck. These weren't professional photos, but rather shaky bathroom mirror selfies, which made them even more disturbing. Cassie explained she took the photos because she feared no one would believe her otherwise, especially given Diddy's power. Diddy's legal team immediately objected, trying to block the images from being shown to the jury. They argued that the photos weren't properly authenticated, that they could have been taken in any situation, and that they should have been submitted during the discovery process. The judge, however, denied each objection, and the images were displayed on the courtroom screens. The jury's reactions spoke volumes. One female juror covered her mouth in shock. 2 male jurors turned their heads away in disbelief, and a juror in the back row was seen hurriedly writing in her notebook, her hand trembling. The hotel incident was a bombshell no one had anticipated. It hadn't been mentioned in previous statements or filings, leaving Diddy's legal team unprepared for the revelation. The panic on the faces of his lawyers was apparent to everyone. Cassie further testified that Diddy allegedly threw a champagne bottle at her head, missing by inches before it shattered against the wall, and destroyed the hotel room in a fit of rage. Cassie testified that Diddy flipped a table, punched a hole in the bathroom door, and most disturbingly, prevented her from leaving the room for over 48 hours. He took her phone and threatened severe consequences if she tried to call for help. As this chilling part of her testimony concluded, every eye in the courtroom turned to Diddy. His reaction in that moment would go on to define the entire trial and potentially his career forever.